blocking. What do I mean by blocking? Well, metal is not straight. It's wavy. And when you put a shiny paint on there, you can see every imperfection. So you cannot get the metal straight. This metal is almost 60 years old and has some dings and dents in it. Gotta use filler to cover that up. So just a couple tips on how to do that. I just like a piece of paper or a pad that I just mix my Bondo on. When I'm done with it, I just toss the top layer onto the next one. I don't have to clean it. Basically, just put a skin coat over the whole thing, as thin as you can, and then start sanding. You start sanding until you start seeing the layers underneath, until you can't feel anything anymore. And you got her. You can do that with all sorts of different blocks, which is where blocking comes from. We've got round ones, short ones, long ones, stiff ones. But actually my favorite is just, it's a knee pad I bought at the dollar store. It's just foam, it's like a pool noodle. It's got a little slit in there, you can put something in there to stiffen it up, even like a piece of body steel or whatever to keep a contour. But it's flexible enough on a nice round car like this that is able to follow the contours really nice. When you're sanding, make sure you're going on an angle and you don't stay in one spot. So an X pattern is good. And then just work your way along. And then you'll find your high spots and your low spots. Your high spots will come up first. You can see the Bondo and then the primer, the fill primer and then the epoxy. And that's fine, you know where your high spots are, whether you gotta knock those down again or whatnot. You can fix your gaps slightly, you can't do too much with it, but you can gain or lose a 1/16 of an inch or less. What we did here is epoxy at first. Epoxy is like a glue, so an epoxy primer. So that will stick to bare metal and that will hold your first layer of filler on there. It does dry in about 3 days. You're okay to apply your Bondo about an hour after, once it's dry. But after 3-4 days, it loses its epoxiness and doesn't work very good anymore. So we've got the hood, the first coat on the hood. I'm starting to see through here. The high spots are starting to show and that's good. Start with 120 and then just work your way finer and finer and finer. We're going to go all the way down to 600 on this one because that's what my paint guy asked me to do. So it's going to paint next week. I was hoping to have it there last week already, but too many things in the way. So I really want to get this thing out of here just because there's so much chrome and trim and parts and dash and seats and that all over the place. They're in the house. Everything else is done. I just got to put it together. So once we get this sanded down to your shaping with about 220, after that 320, 400, 600, you're not shaping anymore. You're just sanding out the grooves. So once I get the 220 sanded, I'll high fill prime it, and then after that we'll go finer and finer, 400 and then 600, and then she'll be ready for paint. So here we go.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon. There's a lot of stuff happening there to help support the channel. And remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich.